Today's guest is Dr. Janet Welch, Vice President Academic of, that's you, come on up, Janet. Yes, please, Janet Welch, ladies and gentlemen. And we're just going to have a discussion about what's going on in her world and my world. I want to know a little bit about your journey, your personal journey to here at SAIT and now. So just can you go back and tell me a little bit about how you got here?
Sure. I got a diploma in the legal assistant program way back 150 years ago, and was working in a law firm. My father's a lawyer, and decided to go back to school to do education. Primarily because I hadn't had a great K through 12 educational experience. And I thought, I'm learning a lot about myself and how I learned in post-secondary, and I want to learn more. So got my education degree, taught high school in Barrhead, Alberta for 1 whole year. It was a very long year. And then from there moved to Red Deer Polytechnic.
Okay.
And was at Red Deer for a number of years, teaching in the business programs. My background is in IT.
Okay.
And then I saw an ad in the Globe and Mail that said higher colleges of technology in the United Arab Emirates was hiring faculty. And so I applied and moved my small family to the UAE, to Dubai for 5 years.
Wow.
Ended up having another child there. And then interestingly, came back to Red Deer Polytechnic again. They hired me back, which was kind of odd. Started my doctorate there, and then went to the University of Alberta, the Faculty of Education. Loved that, but really found I'm not a university instructor, professor. I very much believe in learning differently, and large lecture halls just aren't my thing. So from there, I went to Yukon College, which was becoming a university, and I was curious as to how a college could become a university. And it's hard, especially hard with COVID. So was in the Yukon for 5 years, and found the job at SAIT and applied. So came here as Associate Vice President, Academic, and was in that role for about 6 months. And now I'm Vice President Academic.
Well, congratulations. Thank you. Thank you for coming here today. So now that you're VP Academic here at SAIT, what is your vision for the future of this institution?
Yeah, I think that SAIT has a real opportunity to differentiate itself from other post-secondaries. So post-secondary landscape is getting very busy, very crowded. And I think that students have a lot of choice, whereas they didn't have 10 years ago. And I think post-secondary institutions that can differentiate themselves should. And I think that's kind of our competitive advantage. So I think we need to take what we're doing. I think we need to tell our story more. I think students speak so well for SAIT, but I would like to make it so the student experience in the classroom is something they write home about, what they experience with our faculty. And I know in many cases it is. But we haven't done a good job in the last 10 years, probably through COVID, of supporting our faculty. So my vision is high quality faculty, applied learning, creative experiences, and just an environment where students can thrive.
I agree with you completely. So this is an increasingly competitive environment. Education and the drive to get people educated, there's a lot of choices out there. Why choose SAIT, and why choose SAIT now?
Yeah, I think that choosing SAIT, we often hear from students, sage on the stage, guide on the side, sage on the stage, lecture versus applied learning. And SAIT is known for its applied learning, small class sizes, etc. But the other thing that I really learned coming to SAIT I've worked at many institutions that say they're integrated with industry, but SAIT is integrated with industry.
Yeah.
The networking opportunities for our students, I hear time and time again, the connections they make, the ability for those students to find work while they're still a student here, get volunteer experience. Some of the sessions this week are talking about the capabilities framework, and I think SAIT does a great job of curiosity, and I won't be able to remember the 5 C's, but we develop the whole student as opposed to a student taking individual classes. And I think that's our selling feature, and I don't think we do enough of it.
I agree, and I think we need to do that with faculty as well. You did mention that you want excellence in faculty development. That's great. That creativity, and that's what Michael and I brought together. There was creativeness going on, and look at what we're creating. We have no idea what we're creating, actually, but we'll never know. So we are trades focused, as you know, but how do we balance your side of the academic world and the trades programs to receive everybody at the school is receiving that necessary resource, all of the attention that it requires?
Yeah, so I struggle with the trades divide.
Yeah.
And this goes back to my days in Red Deer, because Red Deer College, same thing. There was the academic shop that I was on that side and trades, and we worked really, really hard not to differentiate. And some of the best faculty that we had were in trades. And so I don't see a difference. I think all faculty need support. I think trades faculty do hands-on learning in a way that many academics haven't thought of or haven't been able to do. And so to me, it's about, and I'm sure there's lots that happens on the academic side that trades faculty don't know. To me, it's about crossing between our schools, between our disciplines, and sharing. And it makes no difference to me whether someone is a trades faculty member or a business faculty member. It's all teaching and learning, right? We're all trying to take the students. And for me, it's the incredible learning experiences that we create, not the content, but the learning experiences. And SAIT does that incredibly well, but we don't share it.
Right.
We don't have a mechanism to say, hey, I tried this in my class and it really didn't work very well. So that's what I'm wanting to build next.
Well, I also want to congratulate you right now on the new Teaching and Learning Commons. So well done. That, to me, that means a lot, because this is exactly what you're talking about. This is where we're going to make those connections between faculty. I do want to ask a question about what are new programs or areas that are being studied or exploring that we can keep up with industry trends? Like how do we gain that advantage over other schools?
Yeah, so I think the number one thing for me is we are so connected to industry, but the change I've seen happen in the last decade, industry's coming to us. Yeah. They're describing skills that they want our students to have, which is quite different. It used to be they would, we would go to them and say, what do you need? And that has flipped. And what I'm seeing is we have these traditional schools aligned with industries, and I'm seeing the programs that they're asking for, industry, are somewhere between the schools, right? So I talk about the fuzzy space between the schools or the muddy space between the schools. It's really hard to take two schools and do a joint program, really hard. But that's the secret sauce. That's what we have to be able to do. And so part of the restructure that we're going through is to break down the barriers so that that is easy to do and not complicated.
Well, thank you for that. Now, let me talk about breaking down barriers. We have a lot of new emerging technology coming out, especially something like AI, right? Artificial intelligence, and whatever that means for a lot of people. What does AI mean to you, Janet?
So I'm a heavy AI user. I wouldn't say I'm an expert. So AI has transformed the way I work. So I work, I get hundreds of emails every day. I'm in meetings all day. AI has allowed me to process the large volumes of information that I get in a fraction of the time. And what that means is people will see me walking around the institution more. I have a chance to go wander when I've got half an hour between meetings. I never got that before, and it's been years and years and years. So for me, it's an enabler, but it's also helped me to think differently about how I approach problems. So I ask AI everything, and we argue often, and I use different tools, but it's that silent office partner, and it talks back, but I don't have to listen to it. But it truly has fundamentally upped my game in terms of what I produce and how I interact with people.
That's one of the best answers I've heard about use of AI lately. So thank you for that. Let me move on. What role does industry collaboration play in shaping our curriculum? We talked about that. Now, I just want to add something else. I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago. You were present at this ASE conference. One of the emerging themes I heard from this was our students need better, more soft skills. What does that mean to you, and how do we at SAIT gain that advantage?
Yeah, that goes back to my point on it's not about the content.
Yeah.
It's about the experiences we provide our students to allow them to be curious. So the capstone, I've worked with capstone projects my entire career. I've never seen anything like what happens in SAIT. And if you see the students at their CapCon events, you'll see an accounting student with a marketing student with, I don't know, a health student, all having worked on a project. And their lesson is, I had no idea those marketing people existed and had that perspective. And it's all about their journey. And there's conflict, but they're learning in that environment. We can't simulate that in a lecture. And so these experiences that we're providing, and I think the key will be for instructors that are working on capstones or project-based learning to tell and share with other people, other faculty, what they're doing, how it's going, and try and use more of these creative ways to reach their students.
That's a good answer. So what initiatives that we're starting and or already in place that support student success, either academically or in their career development?
So SAIT does more than any institution I've worked at already in terms of work integrated learning and things like that. There is a project, it's not in my division, it's in one of the other divisions where career readiness, career skills, often we see in post-secondary students get into the wrong program. And so they're failing, and you might think they're failing because they don't understand, but often it's just not a fit. But when you have invested a year or more in these programs, it's really not great to have to change course, right? You feel like you need to complete it. But if you complete it and have to throw it away because you want to go do something that you're really passionate about. So I think that one of the things we can do for our students is the laddering and the transferability. And so I'm really encouraging the schools to have some common courses so that if I take math in this school, I can get credit if I switch to another school. There's lots of provincial agreements and ways to do that. But at SAIT, it's not an easy sell. We've brought up these silos of uniqueness in the cohort model. And so one of the other changes we're making is we're trying to capitalize on what we get out of the cohort model, which is a group of students that can support each other, but also break it down when we need to and allow students choice, allow them flexibility. And that's a fundamental shift for SAIT. Everything from how students pay their fees and work with each other is significantly different when you start taking out the cohort model. And so finding the sweet spot in terms of how we support our students is going to be a key. So there's a fairly big push on students. We had a pilot last semester where we opened up, I think, 3 math courses, and students could register in whichever math course they wanted. And within 4 weeks, I had students at my office door saying, why do those students get to choose their math and we don't get to choose our math? And I'm like, that's an interesting one. That was a pilot. But if you think of all those courses, communication, math, we offer them in different modes, but they're specific to a school or a cohort of students. How can we back that out a little bit so that a student can have more choice, which they're asking for? They can choose to do it online, they can choose to do it face to face, whatever that looks like. So that's one we have to figure out.
Well, thank you for saying that, because that is a big step. That's going to be difficult to do, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. I love the laddering. I love that they're able to transfer to a different program. That's terribly important. Right? Because also have kids that are in that world, and
It's expensive.
yeah, they can be expensive mistakes.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
We want their mistakes to be, oh, this is a great mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned this, and so I
Yeah.
will go in this direction. Yeah.
Let me ask a little bit more about trades and workforce development. Listen, there's a growing demands for trades. We know this. Our trade schools are kind of exploding, as far as I could tell. How is the institution prepared for these students, these classes, these courses that are coming at us? Full force.
Yeah, we're with some of our trades programs, they're high cost programs. So we're very thankful to have lots of government support.
Yes.
We are expanding in some areas, but we're relying more on industry donations and partnerships than we probably have in the past. And aerospace is one I can think of. Lufthansa Technique, we partnered with them. They want us to train all their airplane mechanics, not my area. And so I think one of the ways we can expand more, or in addition to what we're doing, are those partnerships. There was also a phenomenal, and I just got something last week about it. It was with automotives, and it was a group of, I think they were dual credit students, so students in high school. I'm looking, yes, is that right? Students in high school, and instead of running the students through SAIT on our physical campus, where we have phenomenal facilities, they were at a dealership, a brand new dealership, and they ran a group of students through, I'm going to say automotive service tech, or dual credit version of first period. What a game changer. What a game changer. Their facilities, our instructors, our curriculum, those students have a leg up now because they were high school students. So we just need to think differently about our resources, how we schedule, things like that.
That's amazing. I would like to see that in a lot more programs, if that would ever be possible. That is a definite partnership between school and industry. That you can't get any better than that. That's really good. So how is online or hybrid learning, how is that changing the way education is delivered here at this institution?
Well, so I have an IT background, and a lot of my career has been spent telling people that you can actually do really cool things in online learning. And then COVID hit, and everyone figured out my secret. And what happened was my dissertation research for my doctorate was very much about, just because we can put something online doesn't mean we should, right? And so students need to be, or faculty need to have been students in high quality online experiences if they're going to teach in that environment. And I think COVID probably gave people a bit of a false sense of security. Everyone did it to survive. And I'm amazed at how the world flipped overnight, because I wasn't having any luck telling people to try some of these tools. But now we're in a space where our students have to be able to function online. They have to be able to function face to face. And so how do we intentionally provide opportunities for our students to learn what is appropriate etiquette online, both synchronous and asynchronous, and face to face? I think we have an obligation to do both. And so SAIT will never be an online school, but I do believe all our students need online experience so that we train them well going into the workforce. And I think lots of students, I went to a class not too long ago and no one turned their camera on. And this poor instructor was dying And so how do we talk about ways to engage? And I think there's lots of cool things we can do, but I think we need to step back, figure out what courses or programs or pieces are best to model this technology and help the students develop those skills, and then move from there.
I think we also need faculty to learn how to use a lot of this equipment as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a big part. So, how is SAIT incorporating AI and automation into learning administration? Is it, you said it's making your life easier? Is it making SAIT administration easier? Is it making faculty easy? What kind of knowledge or data do you have on that?
So I don't think it's making my life easier. It's
Okay.
making my life different.
Okay.
So I'm able to do different things. I'm able to use my time differently. But I suppose for in a lot of respects that is easier, but I invest a lot of time in learning this stuff. So here's what SAIT's doing, and session tomorrow, 15 minutes, I'll give you this as well. SAIT has developed last fall, we were working on a policy, and the policy, we still do now have lots of people that want us to block it or want us to invest in AI checkers, and that's not realistic. So last fall, I got permission from our executive team to launch a steering committee. We did 6 people from across the institution, all were kind of voluntold. And then we developed 6 working groups, and we sent the working groups with an AI-generated statement. So the AI-generated statement was something like, for the training and development working group, it was figure out what we need to do to train our faculty, staff, and students. And in the next working group, which was teaching and learning, figure out how faculty can use this. And so the working groups went off. Some of the working groups had 40 and 50 people. And we came together first week in March and decided to create a map of all the different work and realized there was lots of overlap. We had also been successful in getting some money out of next year's budget to be able to support some of this work. So where we are right now is we have 3 groups working on use cases, collecting them, writing them, thinking of them, whatever. And those use cases are in administrative use of AI,
Yeah.
they are in teaching and learning, and they are in research. So those 3 use cases, and then we have 3 other groups that are almost the foundational pillars. And so our policy group, policy got approved or is coming this week to get approved. We have an infrastructure group, and that infrastructure group really wants to build a rocket or something. They're just keen to build something. But what we've asked them to do is go back and look at what SAIT already has in the way of AI. So our learning management system has AI built in. Some of our other systems do. So we've asked them to tell us what the systems we've already purchased have. And then the missing one, training and development. We've said, find something that we can give to all students and all staff to just generally train them on generative AI. And specifically, we're looking at responsible ethical use all the way to why something would be considered prohibitive use. And so the spectrum, that's the work that's happening right now, but Monday, and it changes daily, Monday of this week, I sent out a survey. We have, SAIT has acquired a tool. We're paying for it already. We're going to turn it on as soon as they can figure out what button to press, I think. It's called Microsoft Copilot Chat.
Yes.
And so the advantage of Microsoft Copilot Chat is there's a firewall or a fence or gate around SAIT intellectual property. So like ChatGPT, if you upload a student work into this, it is protected. Whereas if you use some of the public-facing things, it is not protected. So we're going to enable that for faculty and staff as soon as we can get it up, I would think this month. And then for students in the fall, which is also really exciting. And then I asked 2 other questions. We've secured licenses for 2 other products. One is Microsoft Copilot. It's a more advanced version, and ChatGPT. And so we have sent out a survey to say who's interested. We're still looking at the implications. We still have lots and lots of people afraid of it, I'm really worried that SAIT's intellectual property, meaning their curriculum, has gone out there. And so we have a lot of work to do, but I really believe with technology, you can't expect people to embrace it if you don't give it to them. So
Right.
that's where we are.
Well, good. I'm looking forward to the future of that. Let's look at community and global impact. How does this institution engage with the local community and the businesses to enhance learning opportunities? Like you already gave me an example about the automotive students who went to industry and were doing their training right on their property.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how does SAIT support that? How do we get involved with that?
So I have the good fortune every semester of interviewing valedictorian candidates. So best job ever. And those students tell me the experience they've had, and I'm always blown away by what they've been able to do, the opportunities they've had. So the volunteer work alone that either instructors or schools bring to our students is truly phenomenal. And everything from things at Pride Week to something with the Chamber of Commerce. It seems like our faculty are so well connected that they're providing these opportunities to students, and the students are realizing that's a differentiating factor in getting hired. And so they're seizing them. And so the students I meet with, I don't remember engaging with any institution that I've been a student at in the way these students are. And some of them are international, but some of them have grown up in Calgary and they didn't know they could volunteer or go to a speaker or go to a seminar. When I walk out each night, McDonald Hall is on my way out. I would be hard pressed to find a night in the week that there wasn't a group of students who have self-organized an event with industry partners. And so it's that informal connections that I'm just blown away by how much of it there is.
Nice. I do want to talk about something, the international partnership that we have with a college overseas. Can you talk about this global impact that SAIT is having?
Yeah, so SAIT's done work globally for many, many years.
Of course.
A lot of it's in the SIDARI, so one of our other divisions. But our president and a few people over the last few years researched countries that were doing really cool things in post-secondary, and landed on these technological universities. Sometimes they're called Universities of Applied Science. And so Ireland is one country. There were several others that kind of rose to the top in terms of applied learning, offering degrees that are laddered. So for example, we signed a partnership agreement a year ago with the Technological University of the Shannon in several places in Ireland. And they have an applied master's in construction, and they have an applied master's and they will take our students. And so I'm like, how do we get your curriculum over here and how do we share it? So that's really exciting. These are opportunities that our students wouldn't have. So SAIT cannot offer anything higher than a bachelor's degree.
Right.
That is regulated.
Yeah.
And I think that does a disservice to the Albertan population, because I think there are cases where, if you've done something in construction and you want to do something in business, a combined degree would be really helpful, but you can't do it in Alberta without going back to school. And so I think those opportunities for these applied degrees, doing work-based projects, are huge. And some of the institutions overseas are doing this already and doing it well. So we want to learn from them and hopefully get the ability to do some of it here.
Well, that is what this conference or this showcase is all about. Reimagine learning.
Yeah.
And we're connecting, and you're connecting globally to other places. So that's fantastic. I do want to ask you about one thing. I want to ask you about Legacy 88. And what is that, and what does that mean to instructors and people here at SAIT?
Yeah, so Legacy 88, I became involved in with a couple of years ago. And so it's a pot of money that came to SAIT with the 1988 Olympics. So it was a donation. And it's kind of ebbed and flowed over the years. So anyone, students, faculty, staff, anyone can submit a project and ask for money. Every year it changes how much there's available. This year there was a little under $100,000. We really encourage students in particular to apply. We had some very strong support from students or proposals from students this year, but there's areas of focus. And so when I started working with it, I made the areas of focus the same as the SAIT strategic plan. So technology was one, EDI was one, I can't think of the other ones, but kind of aligned it with a lot of the work we were doing. And so quite a wide variety. A couple years before that, it was only focused on digital technologies. And so it can change, and we'll be looking at our schools for next year's grants to see what they would like. But there's a selection committee, you do a presentation, and it's Friday. We bought snowshoes for campus this year because athletics and recreation came forward and said, it wasn't snowshoes, sorry, that was the year before. It was cross-country skis.
Okay.
And they said, we need an inventory of these. And so they were funded. And so you can
Nice.
go ski around the soccer pitch.
Nice. Okay, I want to look forward now. I want to know what is the one of the biggest, just maybe one or two of the biggest challenges facing not only post-secondary but SAIT as a whole in the coming years. What's some of those challenges that we have coming up?
I think declining funding will always be a reality. That's not new. It's not unique to SAIT, but
Right.
government funding will be less. And so everyone's got to, we have to be a little better at how we do things. Um, and by better, I mean more efficient. So be conscious of that. Other things that I think keeping up with technology is going to be a big part of it, but also keeping up with the changing nature of the student. So if our students are asking to be flexible or for a flexible program,
Mhm.
and we have them here for 30 hours a week from 8 to 4, and that's mandated in apprenticeship as an example. Is that flexible? Is there a way we can kind of adjust some of that? So the students have expectations. I don't think in some cases we're meeting those expectations. Should we change? Should we give other options? I think reevaluating how we engage with our students will be a big, not question going forward, but will be a big challenge going forward.
Yeah, reimagine learning. Yeah, there you are.
Good title, whoever chose it.
What advice would you give to any students prepping for the future job market?
You know, I'm thinking I just interviewed valedictorian candidates last week, and what really struck me with this batch is they were curious.
Yeah.
They wanted to learn. Many of them, this was their second credential, so they had already gone to post-secondary, and then they had switched either in another country or here. And they were curious about something. And I don't remember being younger and not being curious. And so my career has been all over the place because I was like, oh, how do you do that? And how do you do that? And I think that opened so many doors for me that I could not possibly have imagined I'd be sitting here doing a podcast in Calgary in the year 2025.
No kidding. So let me ask you this. If you had unlimited resources for one or maybe two projects or initiatives that you wanted to start, what would they be?
Oh, dream big.
Yeah.
I think it's around something around assessment and something around AI.
Okay.
So I really believe it's not about the content. It exists. It's available lots of places. But my big dream is kind of between those two things of technology and AI. I imagine a day, so when I used to teach, there was a long hall of offices, and I would, at the end of every class, you'd wander down the hall and you'd say, this worked well, this didn't work well. We had a community in the school I was working in. And I don't know that we have that. We all have different schedules, lots of people work from home. So my dream is that there would be some sort of system that a faculty member from SAIT could go to and say, I want to do a presentation in my class, but I don't know how to evaluate it, and I'm scared the students are going to cheat. And search and find the names of 10 other instructors that have done that exact thing and their trials and tribulations and copies of their assessments, and then make it better. And I think that that's our opportunity. How do we document the things that are going well and the things that aren't going well and share? And I think IT can help us with that, but I also think convenings like this play a big part in that.
I believe so too. And that's the apprenticeship model kind of
Totally
said
is.
right there. Okay. What excites you most about the future of this institution?
I'm excited about figuring out how to work between schools, because I have a lens into each school and I see phenomenal things happening. But I see how hard it is to bring two schools together, two students, two schools, two faculty members. You have to know someone. And so that excites me the most, because I think that it's that messy space between the schools that's going to differentiate us. And so I've got the Dean of Health looking at some sort of health informatics program that could be offered in SADT, a collaborative, or whatever. So it's really thinking outside the box in terms of what we already do, and how we can kind of mess it up a little bit and achieve something greater.
Oh, that's awesome. I want to thank you for coming here today and sitting with us and having the conversation. I really appreciate it. Everybody, Dr. Janet Welch. Now, Mike and I will answer any questions you may have. If you want to connect with Janet, please do so out on the floor somewhere, and we won't put her on the hot seat here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it.